24toDouble really is a whole church discipleship model. It's stylistically neutral and it's theologically light. We feel like, from a theological standpoint and a style standpoint, most of you already have. You're on that path. You know what you're doing. And we're not going to come in and reteach you that. What we're here to do is help you put the nuts and bolts on the how-to part of church. Because we believe this, that there is a team structure that God designed for your church. We want to help you get the right people serving in the right spots. And here's the thing. The bottom line is we want to stop giving people jobs and we want to start giving people personal ministry. And we know this. We know that 24toDouble works if you work it. Like I said earlier in the webinar, we're like the personal trainer and you're like the person being trained. We have got a program. We know it works. If you work it, it'll work for you, but you got to put the sweat in and you got to be ready to do that. We've got a plan that'll work for you. And before you get into it, let me tell you exactly what 24toDouble is. Number one is it's exclusive. It's the first and only membership community focused purely on helping your church grow by anywhere from 59 to 228%. And those are numbers that we see. In fact, there are numbers that are much bigger than that on one end of the spectrum, but we don't share those with you because some of them, in fact, aren't believable. The next thing it is it's affordable. It demolishes the barrier between churches and high-priced consulting. Like Jerry mentioned earlier in the webinar, they paid a lot more money, up to $3,000 to $4,000 a month, to have Dr. Weston come in and teach this information to them. Not to mention the fact that there's the travel costs that they had to reimburse him for. When we were doing these events live, you had to drive across the state or across the country, bring your team, which was hard to do. There's hotel rooms involved, all of that. We've taken all of that out to be able to give you this training right where you're sitting right now in much the same manner that you're learning right now. The next thing is it's simple. It's a done-for-you strategy, tools, and training. What we're going to do is every month we're going to feed out to you modules that are going to say, okay, this month you're going to take this step. And then finally, it's personal. Hopefully you can tell by both Jerry and our passion for the church, and not for church planning necessarily, but for you guys that are out there trying to build or rebuild a church where there's been one and they've just lost momentum. So Jerry and I believe that this training is a front for partnering with you to rebuild the church. Now here's what you get. You're going to get $737.54 of bonuses, including the modules, the 24 monthly modules. There's more than 53 hours of church growth training. A new module is delivered to you every month. We're going to give you a bunch of information right up front so you can get your feet wet and understand what's going on. You're going to get train your team resources. We're going to give you PDFs and downloadable information as well as handouts that you can give to your team so that you can teach this information, or you can watch Jerry teach it and share that information with your team as you go along. You're also going to get VIP webinar replay training. Every one of these webinars, like the one you're listening to right now, we download these and we put them on the site so that you can use them at any time. There's also a live monthly Q&A. Every month we tee up a Q&A where you can come and you can just listen in or ask questions. And we've tried as much as possible to make it like a radio show type format where you come in and we moderate the calls and you can jump on and ask whatever question you have, whether it be about 24toDouble or a particular challenge you're facing in your church. And Jerry and I, mostly Jerry, will chime in on those. And then the last thing is you've got access to our 24toDouble Facebook members group, which is the place where we're developing community around, not just around 24toDouble, but where you can find other pastors who are in this fight right now too. And that's one of the legacies that Jerry and I are desperate to leave, is really being able to find ways to connect you with other pastors. Now, let me back up just a second and tell you about the teams, because we've talked about a little bit in this webinar, the teams that we help you develop. And this is the guts of the operating system that you're going to walk through in the next 2 years. And team one is the outreach team. And you can see, I'm not going to go into too much detail, but you can see that those people are involved in and responsible for not just the marketing of your church, but things like big events. Now, just imagine this. What if you showed up to your church and there was a big event going on? There was, whether it's Christmas or Easter, or you do a fall ice cream social or something in the spring where it's, just fun for families. And that event is going off. You've got tons of new people on site at your church, and you had zero to do with the visioning, execution, or planning of that event. Just imagine what that would be like in your church. The Wow Factor team are the first impressions team, the people that you see right when you come into the door. That there's a whole team of people that are doing nothing but thinking through How do we give people the most incredible experience possible from the street to the front door, and even finding their way around the church? And then the shock and awe team is production team. And I know that a lot of you guys, you're thinking, hey, that's so far out of where we are right now. And Dr. Weston says this up front when he's training 24toDouble. And, when you get into this, your biggest problem in a few months is going to be where to put the people. And a lot of people kind of scoff at that and think it can't happen. But we've had so many pastors come back and say, man, that really did happen for us. And when that begins to happen and you begin to grow, you're going to see that you need somebody that does nothing but focus on the environment you're creating for worship. And then team 4 is the worship, and that's everything that has to do with musicians. It has to do with planning the music that's going to be played around, that's in tandem with the sermon that you're preaching, to make sure that you're preparing people in the right way and that the music connects with the message that you're going to be giving. The follow-up team. Imagine if you just had a group of people that did nothing but think of new and creative ways and execute on those ways to reach out to people who have either come to a big event at your church, or they've come for a Sunday service, or they came for a Friday lunch, whatever it is, that you have a team of people that they spend their time thinking about how to follow up. You're not spending your time doing it. And then children's ministry. You've got people that are focused on children's ministry. They're passionate about it. They love children, and they're the ones that are developing curriculum or going out and finding the right curriculum. They're the ones that are following up with families and making sure everything's safe and secure. And that's another thing that gets taken off of your plate. And then small groups. Whether you do small groups or you do Sunday school, how nice would it be to have a group of 5, 6, or 7 leaders leading a larger team that did nothing but focus on the interaction and the curriculum and the level of quality of doing the spiritual development side of your church? What would that be like for you? That's what we're going to spend time doing over the next 2 years. We're going to teach you how to do big events to draw people in your church. But this operating system, these teams that we have a gift test to put people on, is the foundation for growing your church. A lot of churches can get new people on site, but they can't keep them because they don't have an operating system that keeps people there. They don't have a whole church discipleship model that's focused on keeping people in your church once they come. Now, 24toDouble lasts 24 months, and you can get everything I've mentioned to you so far. You can get it all for just $99 a month. That's less than one person tithing in your church. Now, I know there's some of you sitting out there thinking, hey, Richard, we barely have enough money to keep the lights on and the water flowing. I just don't have the money right now. And that's why we're letting you try this thing for free. We actually have a 14-day free trial that we're going to let you take part in. And here's what I would recommend you do with this 14-day free trial. I would say in the next 14 days, call a meeting with the people in your church, the cheerleaders in your church, and get them together and watch some of this. And then just ask a question and say, is this crazy, or can we do this? What do you guys think about this? And create a conversation and let the conversation happen. And if that conversation ends with, yeah, we feel like this is something we can get excited about and we can get behind you in doing, then ask them to fund it. And I think that's a good idea whether you've got the money or not. Ask them to put their money where their mouth is. Now, some of you may think, man, I just don't know if I'm ready to do that. And this would be the question I would have for you. The questions you're going to have to ask people in your church to really turn things around and begin to grow your church, whether it's 24toDouble or not, the questions that you're going to have, the conversations you're going to have to be in, the influence that you're going to have to leverage to make that happen, it's going to cost you a whole lot more than $99 a month. It's going to cost a lot more than the question of asking people to fund that. Like I said, you can try it for 14 days for free. We're going to send you an email after 12 days that says, get out. Because Jerry and I both are committed to working with churches that are ready to go. And that doesn't mean that you've got momentum, because Lord knows we've talked to enough of you guys that have tried everything and you just can't seem to get momentum. And we want to encourage you that this is not a program where you're going to take in your office, sit there by yourself and try to make it happen. This is not what this is. You can tell by these teams that we're going to help you develop. The one person that's missing from every one of those teams is you. We're not developing teams around you or your leadership. We might be developing them around your vision, but there's going to be other people that are responsible for these things. And like I said earlier, we're trying to give people ministry, a personal ministry, not just a job on Sunday morning. Okay? So here's the bold guarantee that we'll make. If after 60 days you don't feel like 24toDouble is worth every dollar of your investment, you get a 100% refund, no questions asked. Now, that's not that big a deal for us because of the 14-day trial. After 60 days, you're only going to be into this thing for $99 anyway, and we will gladly refund your money if you're not going to use this program to grow your church, because we want people shouting from the mountaintops how this program works when you work it. So we're taking 100% of the risk. 100% of the risk is on us. And all you've got to do to try the free trial is just click the link below here. So I hope you'll go ahead and do that and get started. Oh, and here's another thing, just a couple of extra bonuses that we decided to throw in last minute. You're not just going to get the first module when you sign up. You're actually going to get the first 2 complete modules. One of those is a deep dive into big events and vision planning. That's the high level part of it. And then the next module is all about vision, because vision in church, in any nonprofit organization where you're not paying people to help you do what God's called you to do, any nonprofit organization, vision is the paycheck. And if you haven't spent the time to really dive into vision, then you're really going to enjoy this. And secondly, if it's not real familiar to your people, if nobody knows what the vision or the mission statement of your church is or what it is that you're trying to do, this is going to be a great time to reinvigorate that conversation. The next thing you're going to get is the 24toDouble Online Spiritual Gifts and Passions Test. This is the test that Jerry and Lance created to be able to specifically put people in the right places on these teams. So this gift test is a tool that we use at the right time to drive people from rows into circles, into volunteer ministry. And you're going to get access to that right off the bat. You're also going to get 4 24toDouble labs. You're going to get one on worship. You're going to get one on the pastor's breakfast, which is where we move people from rows into seats. You're going to get one on how to build the right teams. And then you're going to get one on how to update the look and feel of your church on a budget. And then the last thing we're throwing in, I think I mentioned this early in the webinar, is sermon prep notes. Jerry's ridiculously good at preparing for sermons. He writes and rewrites his messages, and we've included 8 series just for trying out 24toDouble. Now that's 8 series for a total of 34 individual messages that you're going to get just for trying out 24toDouble.